Hey friends, what's happening in the real estate world? Dallas-Fort Worth, June 24th. We're going to dig deep into that and some tips for buyers. How do you win in multiple offer situations in today's market? And three, sellers, how do you get maximum exposure to your home when no one's coming to open houses and lots of agents aren't holding them? We're going to talk about that. First, I'm David Russell with the Russell team. Thank you for watching this brief video in our video series about buying, selling, and owning real estate. The first topic I want to hit today is the market. What's going on in the market? There's an article down below that says sales are way down year over year. Clearly, we're in the midst of a pandemic. Sales for the first 2 weeks of June were contracted in the first 2 weeks of May, roughly, and that's when we were in shelter in place. So it stands to reason that we're going to be down in sales. I actually am surprised at the percentage. I expected it to be significantly worse or lower than it is. We'll talk about those numbers in a second. And then last week I did an article on values, and they're down in the overall Metroplex. So the gist of this message to you today is it's not necessarily true for you. What I mean by that is each geographic area is very different. As a buyer or a seller, if you're trying to sell, you need to look at your neighborhood, your school, that little elementary school, very small geographic area to determine demand and value. Same thing with a buyer, that geographic area to determine demand and value. If you're seeing homes selling over 100% in 2 days, guess what? Multiple offer situation. So very quick, here's some numbers. For the first 2 weeks of June, year over year, I did the 4 counties. Dallas County values were down the first 2 weeks of June, 3%. Sales were down 32. Collin County values were up 5%. Sales down 18. Denton County up 3%. Sales down 13. Tarrant County values up 2%, down 31 in sales. So when people hear those numbers, they think, oh, it's a housing crash. There's no demand. False. Not true. Here's what happened. Third week of March, the housing market, 35% of the listings evaporated because of the COVID. We've not recovered that inventory yet. So we have very high demand and low supply. As a matter of fact, there's an article down below that illustrates that. The loan applications are up to an 11-year high. An 11-year high for new loan applications when we have low inventory, which is why we're seeing a lot of multiple offers. And it's why we saw Collin County have an increase of value of 5%. Now, I did just a really quick microcosm search of one geographic area over in North Irving. It's an area called Valley Ranch, north of 635 right there. And the values there were up about 5%, first 2 weeks, year over year. The other area I looked at briefly was Coppell, and the values there are down 0.5%. So you can see two different areas very right next to each other. One's up, one's down a slight amount. So you have to be very careful about taking that general information for an entire geographic area that spreads from Abilene to Longview or Tyler and from Wichita Falls to Corsicana. That's a huge rectangle. And so what's going on in Weatherford may not apply to what's happening in Frisco. So you have to be very careful about your strategy when you put in a bid or if you're listing your home. You have to pay close attention to your little micro area. Let's talk about the strategies for multiple offer situations. In the last 3-4 weeks, we've submitted a dozen or so offers, and every single one of them in North Tarrant, South Denton, and West Dallas County have all been multiple offer situations without exception. And here's how you win those. One, the buyer's agent should have a conversation with the seller's agent to learn what the seller needs. Do they need a lease back? Are there special situations that maybe can be taken into consideration? Clearly, the seller wants the most amount of money, but sometimes there's other terms that are not monetarily driven that can help the seller, which helps the buyer get the deal. So that conversation goes a long way. If there are two offers that are basically equal and one agent called the listing agent and offered assistance and kind of extended the olive branch and how can we get this done together, and they have a good feeling about that agent, they will say, I had a really good feeling about this agent, we should go with them, and that person wins. So it's very important that the buyer's agent contact that listing agent and have a good rapport with them. Two, present the offer with the most favorable terms to the seller. Outside of price, can you do a lease back? Are there other terms or scenarios that need to be met, or can they be met on the seller's behalf to help pull your offer in favor of the seller? Three, this is a really important one. have your buyer, the buyer should be credit approved, not pre-approved, approved. Have your lender underwrite you. Now, most local mortgage brokers will do that. Not all national ones will. Lots of national ones will make you go through the process. They will not issue a approved credit approval, for the buyer. They won't do it in advance of having the contract for the house. So that will hurt you against another offer that's equal again. If they're equal or very close and one's presented with a credit approved buyer and they only have 5 days for needing credit approval or whatever, and the other one has 21 days, that buyer wins. So the last tip on that is a bonus tip. And if you don't want to be in multiple offer situations, go buy a brand new house. Go get new construction. You don't get into multiple offer. You don't pay above appraised value for the house, and you conceivably will not have capital expenditures on repairs or maintenance for 10 or 15 years. You don't need to replace appliances, flooring. You don't need to paint unless you cosmetically want to. You don't need to. You don't need to replace an air conditioning system or a hot water heater. All of those mechanical systems and the structure and all of the cosmetics should be really good for 10 or 15 years. So ultimately, you can save money by buying a brand new home, and you clearly will avoid a multiple offer situation. Okay, so the last topic is for sellers. In today's market, many homeowners don't want open houses. Lots of agents will not do them, and many buyers won't go to them. So we're seeing a significant drop in the number of open houses and traffic at the open houses. So how do you overcome that? How do you get a good tour of a home for a buyer so that they can see your home without coming to it? And there's technology out there now for virtual open houses. And Compass just rolled out this week a platform for our agents to create and implement and execute virtual open houses where they can hold a big open house for people, answer questions, give them a tour of the home, show them the closets, show them the shower size, give them a full walkthrough visual of the home, and have lots of people online at the same time. It's called a virtual tour. And we have the technology now available on our platform at Compass to help sellers get maximum exposure when people they're leery about coming to the home. So hopefully this information helps you sellers and you buyers, educate you on techniques and strategies to help you get the most money for your home or get the home of your dreams. If there's anything I can do for you, please reach out to me. I'm David Russell with the Russell Team. Have a great day.